Hey, everybody, Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, I'm going to be kicking the ball over to this week. It's once again going to be Randall and I. This is from the same session that the previous Save It for the Cast was from. We actually ended up chatting for like 3 hours. I feel like I say this all the time, but whenever there's like a duo session where it's just me and Randall or just me and John, or John and I, Randall and I guess if I want to speak properly here. But yeah, when it's just two of us, we tend to just ramble and, chat on and catch up and all that. So a little bit of, very, very light teasing for Tears of the Kingdom. Not really all that much. If you've been in our Discord especially, you probably know already what John and I think. Our proper Zelda episode is going to be out next week. So, as per usual, I'm going to chat about a few of the things that I've been playing as of late before I kick it over to Randall and I. Again, it's mostly games chat, but kind of all over the place, some life stuff too. For this week's Save It for the Cast. But yeah, I've been doing all sorts of gaming lately. I've been doing a ton of streams, kind of trying to get back in the swing of things. I've actually got the house to myself for the next week and a half. So I'm planning on doing even more streams. One of the games that I'm actually talking about on a future episode, proper episode of the podcast that we've already recorded, is Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. So I'll be talking about that some more in the future. And I know I've already talked about Grindstone in the past, but because Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon is absolutely kicking my ass, but I am loving it. But yeah, I'm just getting my ass absolutely kicked. And not that Grindstone is the easiest game, but at the same time, it's got a similar kind of scope in terms of the size of the board or the grid and the puzzle pieces. And it's a match 3, quote unquote, but you can do huge combo chains. And if you're unfamiliar with Grindstone, it was initially released as an Apple Arcade, I think exclusive. Maybe it came out on everything right off the bat, but I think there was about a year delay because I think that's why it took me so long to get to this game after it came out. But yeah, I've been having a ton of fun just kind of chipping my way through that. I do think the game's a little bit torn between it has a lot of roguelite elements or grindiness even for, maybe that's part of the game, with it being I always thought it was just a, name of the game because you're, hacking stones to pieces and, you're just grinding your way through the dungeon. But you do have to do a little bit of grinding potentially. I haven't, felt the need to I got to craft all these different items and whatever just yet. But it seems for the most part, they are kind of scripted. There's some random, as far as the puzzle pieces or the creeps and jerks, the enemies that you have to fight or whatever, that populate that. There seems there's a randomness to that each time, other than maybe a main kind of mini boss or certain types of enemies that might populate. But even that's somewhat random. But at the same time, there's you're just kind of working your way through level. I just beat the first world or whatever, first chunk of the mountain, which was 15 stages with even a little bit of a boss battle at the end. It doesn't get anywhere near as actiony as Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, but it's been a perfect juxtaposition for me to just bounce between those two games lately. And then some of the other games that I've been playing, I might end up getting a little bit, because I was talking to John and Randall about this the other day while I was telling them about all the games I've been streaming. But one of the games that really, really stood out as of late was Bloodroots. And man, I am absolutely loving this game. I played probably just the first, the stages are it's 1-1, 1-2. So I got to 1-5. So I really only played 4 stages and a bonus stage. And I have no idea how long the game is, but it's just oozing with style. It's kind of got a low poly. It kind of plays from a top-down isometric perspective for the most part. Sometimes the camera even shifts to be more top-down. But there's a little bit of platforming going on. You're jumping around. And again, I might end up repeating myself on a future Save It for the Cast a little bit here, but you basically can just pick up any weapon in sight. There's wheelbarrows that you can jump on, and as soon as you jump on them, they start it's really fast and frantic. So you're kind of almost stream of consciousness style gameplay. You just want to grab things and go, and it's one hit death for your character. So as soon as you basically just got to clear all these various zones, each stage or 1-1 will have maybe 5 or 6 different kind of enemy zones that you have to go through and clear. And it seems like they spawn in the same spots every time. There's a little bit of change in the reactiveness, but it does seem like it's a game that's kind of tailor-made for either speed running or going for high scores. There's even online leaderboards and stuff like that, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. And kind of similarly to Grindstone, again, there's no roguelike nature really to this at all, or roguelite, but you do unlock different masks. Your main character just wears kind of a wolf skin mask, but you can unlock a fish. I've only unlocked 2 so far. A fish mask that actually just reverses all the controls. So that's obviously just if you want to provide yourself an extra insane amount of challenge, because the game is very hard. It's very forgiving in the sense that the checkpoints are generous and whatnot. You just have to clear, like each wave that you clear is a save point or a checkpoint. But again, it's one hit death, and you gotta keep making progress. But I really, really have been having a great time with this game so far. I haven't played it anymore since the stream. But I definitely intend to. It's a game that I know John and I picked up right around the same time. And it's just so fun. Like every stage you do, at least for me, I've been kind of like finding like, okay, I definitely want to like kill these, because most of the weapons that you pick up, like the wheelbarrow, you just kind of jump on, but like a sword, you can attack 3 times. And sometimes if you're lucky, if you line up enough enemies, you can slice through like 2 or 3 enemies with one attack. Sometimes if it doesn't hit them like right immediately, it does count for 2 and you only get like 3 uses with the sword, or 1 with a twig or a carrot or something like that. You can like literally pick up almost anything in this game. And just the way it's like destructible and how fast you move, but how fluid and in control you feel, like, it's just such a great game. And then the other game I've been playing a little bit of, although I have to admit this is my 3rd, maybe even 4th time picking this game up. It's called NightSky, and not picking it up not picking it up as in buying it, but like picking it up to play it again. And yeah, I had to delete one of my 3 save files to start a new one. And funny enough, it looked like I pretty much had stopped at the same exact point every time, and no different here. It seems like I'm kind of stumped. The puzzles are starting to get a little bit tougher. It's kind of like a 2D side-scrolling platformer with a lot of physicsy elements going on, and it kind of throws like different rules at you. Not necessarily each stage, but each like zone, or each, like, there's just like a series of different challenges, but it's got a really cool aesthetic. This is a game that I think you can also get on PC, but it was like kind of like a 3DS. It doesn't do a ton of 3D stuff. There's just kind of like some depth perspective going on with like the parallax scrolling, but it's mostly like, everything's kind of in silhouette, shadow style. And it's actually developed by the developer of the game Knit. Niflos is what they go by online and whatnot. And I'm just such a huge fan of Knit, and that's Knytt. And there's been a few games in that series, but the very first one, I think it was called Knit Stories. I might have even talked about that on the podcast in the past, because it's just one of my favorite like gaming memories. I remember actually I was like job hunting like probably about a decade ago on my ex's computer, and on like there were like sticky keys on the laptop, and I was still and I'm not terrible. I talk about this all the time too, how bad I am at like playing action games with keyboard controls, or especially if I have to throw the mouse into the mix. Thankfully this was all keyboard controls, but still kind of like not a full-blown precision platformer. And NightSky really isn't a precision platformer either, although there is some elements of that going on. But just a really cool game, more of like an aesthetic experience than anything. But it's been kind of funny because, I've been kind of bouncing off some of the physics stuff in Tears of the Kingdom. And to a degree, I'm kind of bouncing off it a little bit more, or a little bit in NightSky as well. But I'm like able to brute force my way through it a little more, or just like I tend to see what a solution I can try. So and not that I'm not seeing that in Tears of the Kingdom either. So I really don't know what the difference is, but for whatever reason, I can just kind of tend to deal with physics elements in 2D games a little bit more than 3D. But yeah, that's the main stuff that I've been playing, and I do intend on doing a bunch of streams over the course of this week, and that's this week, like as of the release of this episode. For once, I'm actually kind of concurrent here with when I'm recording these and whatnot. So yeah, I'm planning on doing a bunch of streams, so I'll have probably some more games to talk about next time. But yeah, at the risk of rambling on and on here, I'm going to kick it over to Randall and I for some chit chat and whatnot. And yeah, until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care. Yeah, what do we want to chat about tonight, man?
Let's talk
all sorts of stuff.
Kirby, a little kind of check in with Resident Evil 4 remake.
Little Resi. I've been playing some Mark of the Ninja and some Shinobi 3, so I got a little Ninja connection there.
Yeah, I really want to hear you talk about that. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, and then if we feel like we need some padding, I could just talk about how the jam has started up.
Oh, yeah,
and whatnot. So it's been going pretty good so far.
Nice.
People have got the first submission actually earlier today.
Jeez.
Even though we still got plenty of time, but people are making some really cool looking stuff. Like there's like a deck building platformer from Sebastian Lind, the Cards with Personalities developer.
Hell yeah.
There's a few other games. There's some really cool. Oh, there's this really cool ZX Spectrum kind of looking game from this developer makes a lot. They're making this game called Little Martian, and then they made another game called Beeps Escape. Like they've been working on this Little Martian game for a long time, and then they keep going, I'm working on this now, and I'm making this game, and they like have released like 2 games in the process of working on this other game. But anyways, they like made this kind of like bubble bobble looking game.
Hell yeah.
With like ZX Spectrum aesthetics. It's a really sweet looking game. I'm like, oh man, I really am looking forward to playing this one.
ZX Spectrum, that's more like just kind of like green, yellow, kind of like, am I thinking of the right system there? Like it's pretty limited palette, I think.
I think so, yeah. It's like, it typically, at least in my mind, I'm always thinking it of as like dark black backgrounds, and then like usually like every sprite, like there's no outline to it. It's all like a single color. And like usually kind of like neon kind of popping. Like almost like if Game Boy Color colors were like not so soft and like a little more vibrant.
Yeah.
And then on a stark black background. It just they look really, really cool.
ZX Spectrum, you meant to say? That's what the Brits call it.
Yeah, it's so funny to to hear some of those random like just things that you're so used to calling one thing, and you just like hear somebody else say it. Like even the other day when I was streaming, I said something about like how I say itch.io all the time.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't think anybody the first time I ever heard of itch was on the Idle Thumbs podcast, and they called it itch.io.
Yeah,
so I just got in the habit of saying it that way, and now I just can't get it out of my head, even though like pretty much everyone I've ever heard say it either says itch or itch.io.
Really?
But yeah, but I'm just like itch.io. It just has a good ring to it.
Oh.
And it sounded good when they said it back then. So
yeah,
I've only ever heard like a couple other people say it that way, and I'm like, oh man. I'll every now and then I'll get self-conscious, like, oh man, I sound like an idiot. I think.
I was gonna be like, oh, isn't it like nicer just to like have the flow of itch.io, but then I say NES and not NES, so that's the opposite.
Yeah.
So whatever.
It just depends. Like some of them, I think it's just like what you heard first in a lot of cases. Because like I'm the same way. Like when people say SNES, I'm like, no, Super Nintendo. It's a Super Nintendo.
SNES. Yeah,
exactly.
Super Nintendo, not SNES.
Yeah. And then I'm not going to say anything really, even though I don't know if you've seen in the Discord what John and I have been talking about, but I'm excited to talk about Zelda when we get around to that.
I actually poked my head in there today. I think I need to change some of my notification settings because half the time I don't even see when there's like, obviously there's a ton of activity and I'm just like, oh geez, like there's whole conversations that have been happening in here and I'm just like totally blind to it because I'm not clicking into these things. And that
Nintendo one like popped off when Zelda came out. Like not just me and John, like a couple other people, Cardboard Moon and a few other people were chiming in like left and right.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, 100 messages. Oh shit.
I saw in there that like I had a mention, and so I clicked into that one. And I'm like, oh look, oh no, they're talking all this Tears of the Kingdom. I'm bouncing out of here, and I can see that John's in there gushing too. I got to jump out of here. I can't have anything spoiled.
Yeah, John and I, because I've been texting in our like band thread, because like you know how it shows like what other people are playing on Switch, and it's been like cool just seeing like everybody jumping on and playing the same game.
Oh
like, it's been like the first time kind of since Breath of the Wild or like launched that I feel like it's been that like, oh shit, everyone is playing this game. And so like I texted like the boss fight guys going like, hey, it looks like this is the first time we've all been playing a game on Switch at the same time. Like, how's everybody doing? And we've been going like back and forth. Like Mikey sent this like long, like, he's like, I got a lot of thoughts about this, guys. He sent this like huge, like, he's like, let me write it down later and send it. He's like, I tried to proofread it, but here it is. Like this huge diatribe. I've been going on and on about it. And then John and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum, that's all I'll say.
No surprise. I'm not surprised at all. That's all I'll say.
The only thing I'm mad about is like I knew it. I knew it before I bought it, and I knew it's exact. I kind of just thought it might be something different, and it's exactly what I feared it was going to be.
Yeah,
and I'm just mad at myself for being like, but it's Zelda Day. It's out, and I got to go buy it.
Yep.
That's literally. I woke up in the morning and was like, gotta go. I can't not buy it today.
I got the special edition and the amiibo. So yep.
I almost in my head I was like, if they have the special edition, I'm gonna buy it. So I'd be like crying right now if I bought that. And
I think you could get your money back if you wanted.
That's true.
To.
Yeah, actually, I probably make some money. For that matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would.
But I'm holding out. I'm not gonna fully say I'm never gonna play it again because I'm gonna hold out hope for the fact that like my situation at home playing games in my like the room that I'm in here, it's like I think when we're playing like Overwatch or something, I was mentioning I can't even read the text.
Yeah.
Like I'm like just the TV is like kind of mounted up in like the corner, kind of up high.
Yeah.
So I'm like far enough away from it where if I'm all the way back on like the back of the bed, it's uncomfortable. Or that's the most comfortable because I have back support, but it's like I can't really get it into the game that much. Yep. And then if I sit at the edge of the bed to be closer to the TV, I don't have any back support, and I'm just kind of like my back just starts killing me after like an hour. So I really can't like get sucked into and I'm just listening out of the TV sound speakers. Right. So it's like this little dinky TV. It's like I might be getting a little more sucked in if I was like in my living room with the sound system and like, lights off at the end of the night. I maybe, could have had some longer sessions and like dug in a little deeper.
Or you pull out that Switch in handheld mode and put on your Hori grips and
those are the most fun sessions I had, for sure. When
I've
I was
been
laying in bed
a
playing
amount
that way.
And it's like, ooh, that feels nice.
Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I need to just be more immersed in this. And what I should have done is pulled out the headphones too, because I did do a short stream of it when I like not the very first session, but I think it was right after I got off the Sky Island or maybe getting off of the Sky Island. I can't remember when I streamed, but it was like after I played some of the opening bits.
Right.
I only lasted like a little over an hour and I was like, my back is just killing me. But then I played handheld and I was like, okay, I could play a little longer here. So,
Yep.
But I wish I could stream handheld. That would be sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently you can on the Steam Deck. Like you can install OBS on there and just like straight up like run both of them at the same time. Obviously, depending on what you're playing. And
that's impressive.
But it is kind of crazy. Like this one guy that I talk to online every now and then, he like mentioned like, I'm doing this, I'm going to test it just to try it. And like did a stream. I was like, yep, it worked, just like it would otherwise, other than, just having to set it up a little more finicky on like a touch screen and like, jump through the hoops with the controller inputs and whatever.
Right. But that's just that's an initial setup thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like once I get OBS ready to go, every time I have to like reset my computer or something, I'm like, fuck, I gotta redo all these settings again. God damn it.
It doesn't save that stuff. It just
sometimes it does, but there's been a few times I've like accidentally picked the thing to like erase all the preferences and like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
Because part of me thinks like, oh, I think I tweaked something and messed it up, so maybe I should go back to factory settings. But yeah, I probably didn't need to.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, when the PC starts acting up, I sometimes like just getting into like, fuck this, just reset everything, and then without like being patient enough.
I still don't know what happened with my PC in the recording last time. I'm like, how did it just stop? Like, did I absentmindedly like turn the recording? Like, did I stop the recording when I went to like go hit the banyo, or like did it just
was right
stop?
Around the time that we clapped. Yeah, because I remember when you said what time it stopped. I was like, it was right around the time when we clapped.
Yeah,
I don't know if most recording programs like spacebar is like the start and stop. So I wonder if like spacebar just got like nicked or something, or whatever.
Like,
but
I also have to like, the way I had it before, I would always have to move the literal window and like expand it. And this is an old machine, so like, did the software or Windows just get grumpy that I did that? And then it like, I don't know. So like, but now I have a new setup where it's just the entire bottom of my screen, so I can see that it's still, the timer is still going up. It's still recording lines of audio. It is not stopped.
It sounds like you have the same setup as me. I take the Skype window and then I squash it like as much as it will let me squash it vertically. Yeah. And then or horizontally, vertically, and then move it as low as I can. So it's like I can just see like the top. Actually, I can see most of my like speech lines coming up when I'm talking, but usually it's only about like half of it. Yeah. Like, as long as I can see that it's moving and registering sound, I'm good. So
which was never an issue. It was never an issue. And then I'm like, nope, now okay, we're gonna change this to ensure that it's not going to be an issue ever again.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes you just need to like hit a hurdle and just like, okay, I need to like let me just set up this like foolproof plan or whatever. You know, not necessarily foolproof. Obviously, anything can happen with computers, but
yeah, I know. And it was like forcing updates before we had started too. So I don't know. Who knows? But it's doing okay now. So.
Nice. Yeah. And I feel like we got some good save it for the cast material anyways on that opening bit. So
yeah,
definitely feel like we got some stuff there. And for part of me was like, serves us right for not being prepared for that that episode. I mean, I feel like it was still a fun conversation, but like, you know, I was just like kind of half jokingly in my head, like, yeah, that's what we get for not having a plan.
Yeah, we're better prepared this time around, which I'll put in the Discord too, but I'm going to be basically the very last week of this month into the first week of June. That week, like the 29th through the 2nd, I'm going to be in Long Beach, California for a work conference. So I won't be able to record that week, basically.
Okay.
So like, if it ends up lining up where we can do the Anna and whatever else, Zelda stuff, whatever we want to do next week, that'd probably be the way to do it.
Okay, yeah, that works for me. I was hopefully you can have a little fun if it's, you know, work trip.
Yeah.
At first I was like, ooh, nice, California, nice. And I was like, oh, work trip, a little less.
Yeah,
exciting,
just me, just a work trip. You know, the most exciting thing for me of going out there is that there's this Japanese curry franchise that like we had when we were in Tokyo, Koko Ichiban, and like this will be there's a franchise Koko Ichiban in around Long Beach, California, like 15 minutes away from where I'm going to be staying. So I'm going to have it for the first time since 2010. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny you said that because I was just going to say, if nothing else, at least you'll like get some good food you know, while you're out. Yeah. I don't know if the company covers that kind of stuff, like when you're on a work trip or whatever.
More or less, they do. Yeah, it's not
within reason.
Yeah, within reason.
Wine and dine. Yeah,
right. There's hard caps on the dollar amounts, but like Japanese curry is not a horrifically expensive thing in the first place, so that should be totally fine that way. I just got to keep my receipts and stuff.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. Cause I know a lot of people, like when they're like out on work, I'm going to the steakhouse, whatever, like run up the tab. Like, it's like, well, no wonder these companies go out of business because they're like, you know, just letting their, you know, traveling employees just like run up the tab.
There was a little bit of that during my Penske days. That was interesting. That wasn't the places that I would choose, but they'd be like, we're all going out together. And then they'd like go to some place like that. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be like a fortune. And like,
that
was also during like the recession days. I'm like, oh, this feels kind of little opulent here.
Sometimes we would do these like work parties at like even for the bar and stuff. I'm like, why don't we just give everyone a bonus?
Yeah,
like or spending like $20,000 on this fucking party. There's like, you know, 50 people that work here. We could just split that amongst ourselves, and everybody would be really pumped. I mean, it is cool to get together with the work people outside of work, and you know, there is that morale, you know, part of the equation, but,
right.
You know, just like, okay, we're not all just like literally just coming in here with our heads down and getting work done every day. It's like we can enjoy each other's company too, but man, I don't know.
The dollars in the pocket, it means the most. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's like this one night of fun with people that I like probably wouldn't be hanging out with otherwise if we weren't having this work party. You know, and if I would, I'd just be hanging out with them not at this work party, and I'd be using the money from this bonus to have us, you know, buy a bunch of beer or whatever and still have plenty left over and, you know, have 10 parties.
Where you could actually let your guard down because your freaking boss or boss adjacent folks aren't also there, right? Like
right. Yeah, it's definitely a vibe. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then there's always like a couple people, especially in like the bar type crowds, like where there's always like a couple of people that are just like getting way too like, this is my night out, man. Like, going fucking ham.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, you guys are like, and we're on like a, you know, a lot of times it'd be like in Chicago, it'd be like, we're doing like a architecture tour on the boats, or like, you know, out on like Lake Michigan, and they just kind of like cruise around the skyline at night and just people getting wasted on the boat. And it's like, we're just trapped on this boat until we get back to shore.
Oh my God.
this is going to be fun, you know? So not to say that I didn't have fun at any of those, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an experience.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely an experience.
That's funny.
But But yeah, what order do we want to chip away at stuff this week? Do we want to keep the Resident Evil opener train rolling? We've done that a couple times, or we could throw it towards the end.
I was trying to think. There was something else that I was gonna throw out as a mention, and now I do not remember what the other thing was besides those two games.
Because we've also got I guess we never really talked about, but John's not here too. But we never really talked about any of that stuff we played that when we played like the 64 stuff.
I thought about that too, yeah. But that's probably a John thing too. But I mean that could be okay too to save for that, because that pretty much could pad out a regular episode.
Give us plenty to like double if we'd like talk some. Honestly, we probably could do a whole episode talking Zelda between the three of us, and then if we wanted to, we could go into some 64 to just round it out or something. But we easily could do a whole episode, if not multiple, on Zelda.
That's kind of what I was thinking, like the Zelda first impression / Zelda episode theme, regular episode, and then anniversary episode with just a few conversational questions as the second, and just boom. Probably be very easy to do, honestly.
Yeah, that works perfect for me if it ends up working for John and he's feeling better.
Yeah.
Because that seems like a perfect. And I love that games that never got a sequel. I love that question. I've already been racking my brain like, damn, I got to think of a good one. I thought of a couple, but I'm like, but they've like had sequels, just not like another sequel, in a lot of cases.
I know, but that's, I think that's still worth talking
about.
Valid.
It's I like how a lot of these kind of like veer off like into conversational stuff. So, I think we got a good plan for the anniversary episode too.
Yep.
And then I'll probably I can mention too on like the Save It for the Cast upcoming, like, it'll be out a little later than expected or whatever, because we had some technical difficulties, because it'll probably come out a little after, like almost like about a month after our technical anniversary, but that doesn't bother me any. So
yeah, no, that's fine too.
Yeah, I like that it just gives us an excuse to have like a little less equally focused episode, but just a different type of focused episode. Yes. So it's just fun to do those.
Pad out,
save it for the casty.
Yes, and pad out the actual amount of game time we have, in other regards.
Yeah, and then even too, just like I like how it just leads to like like John mentioning that like tomato RPG game. Like I never even heard of that game. I don't know how I had never heard of that game.
Yeah, same.
That like Mario and Luigi style RPG. I don't know how I had, because like I feel like I usually know a lot of the imports that never made it over here.
Same.
Like, man. Maybe it's just because it was one of those that, hey, without the fan translation, there's no way you can play this if you don't know Japanese.
That's a big part, and it's, Game Boy Advance was quickly swept under the rug by DS, even in that era, right? So, like, that doesn't help that way.
Yeah. Oh, there's this new game coming out. What was the name of it? Like, I kept thinking it was like Recompile, but it's like Recomptile or something with tile at the end of it, but all one word, some kind of like pun. But it's like, it's got a really Nintendo DS kind of aesthetic.
Nice.
They just like launched on Kickstarter recently.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my God, this game needs to get made. It's like kind of like a top down puzzle arcade kind of game.
Nice.
Looked really, really cool. That's not I can't think of it. It started with an R and ended in tile, but there was like Reconstrile. I don't know.
I'll take any of those kind of games. That is very much my wheelhouse.
Oh yeah, big time.
The DS puzzlers, love
and
those.
Something about the way they did the pixel art on this game. Like it looks almost like a DS game. Like it just like it has that kind of fuzzy, pixely screen. I don't know if they just put some kind of filter on it or something, but you know how that's the touch screen kind of had that like muted kind of look to it, sort of like a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
I love the way that looks. I don't know.
Me too.
Especially when it's kind of sharpened up on like a regular TV, but just kind of has like a filter on it, I guess.
Or how it looked on
cool.
DS Lite, It's just
exactly.
Really
exactly.
good.
Just sharpened it up even on there. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the other thing was I was going to talk about, but I think I could probably make it work off of these couple of things.
I think we definitely got plenty here for sure.
I don't know if I'm going to talk a ton about Resident Evil because I'll save it, but I'm probably only going to talk about it one other time besides this time,
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll
nice.
It's okay.
And if it's a little bit shorter of one, that's cool too. And like I said, I could talk about some of the stuff I've been streaming If I need to pad it out a little. But usually we end up talking. I'm always like, man, we went that long for, thinking like, man, we barely have anything to talk about until like, oh shit, we went 50 minutes.
Obviously the Kirby stuff can go in a number of directions, and it's unfortunate John's not here, but it's also, it's not just about Kirby. Yeah, about like kind of like the session. 'Cause you said you're playing with Fiona. So yeah, that'll be cool to get double perspective on that. Yep,
so.
exactly.
Yeah, that actually rounds it out perfect. And it's Kirby Return to Dreamland, right?
Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
All right. Heck yeah. I actually almost picked that up the other day.
Yeah, I had been eyeballing it since it got announced and then released. I'm like, I already own this on Wii. I did.
Yeah, I did the same thing. When I went to go get Zelda, I was like, because they had that new Mario and Rabbids game too. They had it on sale for $30, and I was like, I should have bought this.
It's that's once
it looks
that hits
awesome.
20, I'm going to buy
awesome.
it. I will be buying that game.
I know I wouldn't be disappointed at 30 or even 40
for sure.
from what I've heard, but
definitely
because I keep seeing it go on sale so early, and because I know it's like they have 1 million copies every time I go, I'm like, this game is definitely going to be $20, if not cheaper, used down the line or something. So I don't need to give Nintendo and Ubisoft my money right, $60 up front,
Correct.
I'll
as sad as that
down
is,
the line.
That's just the cold hard facts of it all. Like, it will be cheaper very soon.
Yeah, and especially after I just dropped 70 on a game that I'm not really enjoying, it's just like, oh man, like,
that was a $70, huh?
Yeah, it hurt. It was like I went right from earlier in the day. I went and donated some plasma, and I got $65 for it, and I was like, perfect. I was like, it's $5 extra bucks, and I grabbed me a copy of Zelda.
Yep.
I was like, bought this with my blood money. Still don't even like it. Oh man, it's been fun though. I bet
dollar. Not that it's. We've talked about this. Not that the only equation is how much game you get for the money, but as far as that part of the equation is concerned, that's not such a horrible. Maybe it is a horrible value for how much you end up playing it, but for how much is potentially available to you, that one experience is.
John immediately was like, "I'm going to play 500 hours of this game." I'm like, "Oh my god."